A recap of our top story. President Cyril Ramaphosa says the nation needs to rally together to find solutions to gender-based violence. He was speaking during a two-day gender-based violence and femicide summit, which began today. Now, for more on this story, we crossed our reporter Sipho Stuurman in Pretoria. Sipho, good afternoon. Take us through what happened, a very emotional morning.
Well, the summit on gender-based violence and femicide is just on lunch break after being addressed by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Of course, earlier we had a number of women that told horrifying stories of abuse that they've experienced largely at the hands of men. Women that said they found themselves in a situation where they've had to take the law into their hands. We've had one Martha Morumo here saying that because she couldn't get any help, she found herself in a situation where she took the law into her own hands and then killed her own husband. And as a result, now she's serving a life sentence. So those are the type of horrifying stories that women have told you, just giving their experiences, but also they've put a lot of blame on the criminal justice system, saying that it's failing to protect victims, it's failing to protect the women. And this is something that the president touched on, and the president then called on the criminal justice systems to be seen to be working towards protecting victims. And he said that the criminal justice system must come to the aid of women, particularly women that face a lot of abuse. And let's just listen to that clip by the president.
There is a danger that society begins to normalize such practices and say, yes, these things happen, as the speaker was saying in her input. That is why we need to be vigilant. Condemnation needs to be constant and consistent. Perpetrators need to be prosecuted. And this is where our criminal justice system must come to the aid of the women of our country. This is where the criminal justice system must demonstrate that, yes, it is there to protect the women of our country. It requires that we address societal issues of patriarchy. We also need to address economic relations and changing the way of thinking about gender relations.
Well, of course, the president also called on a change of mindset in the country. He said that often the victims are the ones that are labeled, they are blamed. He quoted, he spoke about, of course, the Motoso trial that we are seeing in PE, and said that, Cheryl Zondi showed a lot of strength, but often the line of questioning put in court a lot of blame in her. You look at the current Dross rape case that is currently at the Pretoria Magistrates Court, where people are saying, well, where was the parent? And the president said, this needs to change. We cannot be blaming victims for these abuses that they're experiencing. And let's take a listen to the president once more speaking on this matter.
We must seriously re-examine how we talk about violence against women and children and how our discourse reflects societal norms. It was extremely disturbing and distressing to hear ordinary South Africans questioning why a parent let a 6-year-old child play by herself, when this 6-year-old had just been raped at a well-known restaurant. Yes, it was most disturbing because the discourse that went on social media and all over were questions such as, why do you let a 6-year-old just play on their own? And those are questions that should never arise. The degree of victim blaming that is evident in this type of approach is quite appalling.
Well, of course, the summit continues. We still have to be addressed by the Minister for Women in the Presidency, Batabile Dlamini. She is, of course, here. And, of course, there's a variety of commissions that are going to be taking a place here, looking at law and enforcement, looking at support services for a variety of women. But certainly this morning, of course, they highlight the President's speech. But, of course, the experiences of those women who told what they've gone through. It was quite an emotional session this morning. One lady stood up and showed the scars that she carries in her body. She really just took off her clothes to say, this is what men have done to me. This is what a man I loved has done to me. So certainly it was really a real life experience, and just waking us all to a reality of what some of the women are experiencing here. And the President said that it was with a sense of sadness and shame that he had to listen to these stories. So certainly it's a reality check for the country, and I think for authorities as well, that something needs to be done to curb the scourge of gender-based violence in the country. And with that, it's now back to you in studio.
For that update, Sipho Stuurman coming to us live from Pretoria following that story, and we'll keep on giving us updates on that.